A $1.2 million combine is only as fast as the slowest part of the yard behind it. The crop is ready. The combine is ready. The truck, the auger, the bin, and the person running between all three decide whether you harvest or you crack a Coors Banquet and watch the machine idle. You can read machinery brochures all day. They'll tell you what the combine can do. They will not tell you why it's waiting. Welcome to The Crop is Ready, Is Your Yard. I'm Dan Aberhart. We're Western Canadian Agriculture's foremost live online briefing platform. And at growingthefuture.ca, you can find upcoming events, every replay, access to the mastermind, and an application for our collaborative AI cohort, where operators build their own operating system in 90 days. We are live on YouTube. Please like, subscribe, and turn on your notifications. It helps the channel. It helps you catch these live events. Drop a comment if you want to get into this with the panel, and share this with the person who you're most likely to be swearing at the most this fall. You know who they are. By the end of this, you'll have 3 different perspectives, 3 different fixes for some of the same bottleneck, how to measure what you're actually losing. That's a big deal. How to automate what you already own instead of buying more iron. I know you like buying more iron. We all do. But maybe you can get more out of what you got from today's show. And what it looks like when the yard stops being the bottleneck. We have a guest who has not pushed it to the limit yet where he broke it. It's a beautiful thing. He was testing it yesterday in some faraway barley running pretty high. Not the highest on the yard, but some really good stuff. So quick word on who makes this possible for us to do this for free for you. It's Hammond Realty. It's Crop Aid Nutrition. It's MNP and it's Convergence Conference 2027. So I'm going to put a little bit of a document in there. I'll have links to everybody, some things about our guests. Today, I have with me 3 esteemed guests. Trevor Scherman farms at Battleford. He got so sick of arguing about combine settings, he built a tool to measure the argument. Is that fair, Trevor?
That is fair. It was started with a conversation in the field. We say we don't argue. Conversations have answers, arguments have no answers.
And he's got some of the best shirts in the industry,
Here we go.
according to his colleagues. Vince Pawluski is out of Grand Prairie, Alberta, and he's been teaching machines to run themselves since before it's got really cool. And he's at the consulate today. Vince, congratulations. Did you want to share the news with the world on the internet?
Yeah, we successfully got an E2 visa so we can operate our company out of Texas in the States, so we can access some of the hotter markets, I guess you can say, with some automation in the lower states.
I love it. No, that's really exciting. We talked about that. Who wouldn't want to be part of Great America, United States of America? So congratulations and welcome to the show. True innovator. We were talking in the green room who has more ADHD here. We're not sure. You can be the judge of that. Put it in the chat who's got more ADHD by the end of this. But Brennan McArthur, he farms at Watrous. He's gotten barley itchy twice today. He built his own yard into something closer to a grain elevator than a farm bin, but he hasn't broke it yet. Good morning, Brennan.
How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely amazing, and thanks so much for the audience joining us here. I can see a lot of you. Appreciate you very much. So make sure you throw your questions into the chat. This is a very practical one, and I wanted to open up with a bit of a poll here. I'm going to launch a poll, and then I'm going to find out what the guys would guess on this. But in a normal harvest, where do you lose the most time? Are you A, waiting on the combine, B, waiting on trucks or the grain cart, C, augering or moving grain in the yard, and D, bins full? Nowhere to put it. But I want to start with you today, Brennan. When we chatted, you have a golden fleet of warriors there. You have the X9s. And the X9s of the world have done a great job of increasing harvest capacity, but all they've done is create a logistics bottleneck. Tell me more about that, Brennan.
Yeah, so I guess a little background story on our vineyard here. So it kind of just happened through growth, to be honest. As we expanded the acres, and the old yard, we were out of power service, we were out of storage, and we were out of space. I had a employee that came to us, a retired farmer from the area, that came to me one morning in the shop and said, "You know what? Why don't we just move things down to the vineyard along the highway, and just start a new yard?" So that happened back in 14, and from there it's just continued to grow, and we've added to it. And then I kind of always had this vision of building this yard, but I'm a bit of a visionary, big dreamer, and usually those thoughts end in a coffee with my brothers and partners at the shop, and they say, "Yeah, someday, whatever." And where this really got rolling was in 19. We had a bad harvest. Sherman will remember that one. It snowed September 10th, I think, a couple feet. We had all of our canola out in the field. So we had this grain dryer booked for 2020. And I phoned my Flamin rep and I said, "Can we get this thing here like pronto?" So kind of hit the fast forward button and banged it up that fall, spent all winter drying grain. And that was phase one. And then phase two was what we just built last year, was the automated handling system. Integrated everything into one spot to dump, load, and it's automated through a computer program. So
Yeah, and this is almost like a online, like it's like an equivalent of an elevator. And you had a story there about some folks that had a big fleet of combines, but they were sitting at the side of the road idling. That was a little bit of the inspiration, I think, for this, eh?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as farms continue to grow, machinery gets bigger. What these new combines do is wonderful, right? The capacities and the efficiencies. But what they essentially do is, everybody thinks you buy these big X9s or these big AF11s, you go down in combines. But really, what you need to do is you just need to likely have a look at your logistics plan and add trucks, because grain's just going to come off the field quicker. So you might be down a combine or two, but you got to add a couple trucks, because when you're spending the money on these machines and you're up against the elements with weather, nothing's more frustrating than having to come to a grinding halt because your trucks or your carts can't keep up to your fleet, right?
Paint us a picture. You said you were stress testing it. You almost found the limits here recently. What does it look like? What's the flow? And then give us statistics as you go as to like capacity and numbers and stuff.
Yeah, so we're on day 4 of harvest. We had a soft start last Friday, and I know I saw a poll on Twitter last week about what the F is a soft start, but we just wanted to get the new combines tested and felt out and give the guys the weekend off. So Monday was our first day rolling, and we're hauling. We're trucking of course, it's not dry right now. I wish it was, but we're trucking the barley back with our trucks. We're hauling 12 miles back to the yard, drying on the go. Everything's keeping up so far, but I would say we didn't find the limit as to how far we can stretch our radius and still keep up. But there's no way that we'd be hauling back this barley crop 12 miles if we were waiting on augers at the vineyard. So truck rolls in pretty standard. Yesterday I was in the truck for the day, and I'm coming down the highway and I can see the guy ahead of me just pulling off the pit, and he rolls out, I roll in. So it was pretty well every 10-15 minutes a truck would come through and pull on the scale, come up to your computer screen, pick your bin, your commodity, just hit start, and she's all automated from there. And about 8 minutes to dump a harvest legal Super B.
That's crazy.
So yeah, it was pretty impressive. Like last year, it was our first year with the new system and the site, and we took it pretty cool, and we made sure everything that we went into the system last year was closer to home. Just we were getting the bugs and feeling the system, and kind of everybody was learning. But now that we're comfortable with it, we know kind of what limits and how we can push it. So.
What goes through your mind when you hear this, Trevor? You want one, or you going to get one now? You got to keep up with the Brennan, the McArthurs of the world here, or what?
Oh, everything's a measuring contest. But it does come to efficiencies, right? We generally don't need to dry a lot of grain. So we kind of have what I would say is wet bins and big dry bins, and we do a little blending as we go. as we're hauling it later in the year. But you definitely gotta, it comes down to marketing too, right? Like probably 5 years ago, Brennan was trying to find a home in an elevator for that tough barley. And who knows if you get to the elevator and there's 10 trucks there or 2 trucks, or it's just you combining that day. And again, you have to manage things you can manage. And if you're relying on an elevator to be fast and efficient, well, that's not going to work. We do a fair bit of bagging for the cereal grains usually, and the faraway lands. We'll bag the faraway land. Otherwise, we only have one main bin yard, and I know lots of other farms have multiple bin yards. As you travel, you might see some big bins just in a field, one bin per field, sort of thing. Everyone thinks of efficiency different. I like the big elevator style that Brennan's got for sure. Just in our growth mode right now, land purchasing and different cash flow things has us a little tied up as far as a bin system like that. It's the dream.
We had 40% of the folks said they are waiting on trucks or the grain cart. 40% of the folks augering and moving grain in the yard, and 20% had bins full and nowhere to put it. But Trevor had alluded to a number of things too there, Brennan. Like you have some secondary outcomes that are nice just between, like, it's got to be super satisfying to dump a Super B in that shorter period of time. Like that's just got to be a real feel good thing.
Yeah.
But then you can do some stuff with it. You can blend and you can store and you can do this and that. Tell us about the positive outcomes there.
Yeah. So the whole site, the whole system, from the dryer to the handling in and out, is all automated through LV Control, which is they're out of Winnipeg, and they basically build electrical automation. So a lot of the elevators and stuff that you'd go into when you're pulling into a P&H, the person behind the desk after they probe you is looking at the same screen that we are. So we have one of our guys that works for us that actually came from the grain side, who was familiar with LV Control, and another guy, actually my one brother, had LV Control at his one Pioneer site that he managed up at Waka. So it was familiar for a couple guys, but it's literally a computer screen that automates what you want to do from receiving, transfer, dry, and then when we want to load out, we can blend out of 2 bins. Everything would be on a VFD. If we got high protein, low protein. Let's say we might get behind on the drying here tomorrow and run out of wet capacity. Well, we might just fill up one of the flat bottoms with some 14, 5, 15 moisture barley, and maybe I'll over dry one to 12, and we can blend it out here in a couple months, and still hit our moisture requirements on the go. So it gives us the flexibility to basically any bin can go in any direction, in or out. And, there's not a way to even use an auger in the system anymore. It's all done through the legs and the drags. So, everything's run through the computer. I got live inventory at any given moment. I could dial into my phone right now, pull up my app, and I could do a quick inventory report of what's in the dryer, what's in each bin, what the last load was that came in, what from truck number 3, whatever you want to look at. And, and then when we're hauling out, we've got an overhead bin on load cells. So we've got our trucks all pre-saved in the computer screen, and our guys are pretty good at knowing how to hit their gauges and haul 44 ton and 63.5 gross, but or likely have never been very good at knowing our weights, by compartment or by axle on our Super Bs. So we've got everything programmed in the computer now. So when Riley's truck pulls up to the overhead, he just goes into the computer, hits Riley's truck. It's loaded with canola already, and it will start and stop and put exactly what you have pre-programmed for tonnage into each compartment on the B train. Gives you green light, just like you'd get when you're picking up a load of fert at your local retail, to pull ahead, and a red light to stop. So it's fairly automated that way. And then when he rolls out, he gets a load ticket, just like he would after he dumps at an elevator, and he knows exactly what he's got on, and he takes it with him to the elevator. And then he cross-references each load for the most part to know, if their scale's out. And we actually, interesting, we've found some discrepancies between maybe it's our scale that's out. I'd like to say it's not ours, but different elevators, everybody's half a ton, 400 kg, and it's all nothing major. But we did find at the crush plant last year, they had some scale issues, and we were able to let them know because we had our load tickets. So
mighty nice of you, Brennan.
Yeah, well, it was wrong in our favor, or in against us. So we had to let him know.
Well, that's fair though. That's fair.
Yeah.
That sounds fair. We'll come back to this because I do have a burning question about like ROI and getting all the stakeholders on board when you tell them you want to build something like this and all that. But because the show obviously at the end of the day is about profitability in your business. But Vince,
Yeah.
when you hear this, obviously Brennan's gone to the extreme. I think that's like top tier solution to a lot of the same problems that farmers have. But I think your theme here is a little bit, you're taking more technology solutions to what people already have, where you can fix problems like low cost relative to like the $1 million solution. You're in the 100K category, but you can actually get a great return out of that. How are you looking at harvest logistics, and what are some of your solutions to this problem?
Yeah, so we're mainly looking at even the smaller operators. For me, that's my better market, right? Less acres and more farmers. This means I sell more. And a lot of guys, they've moved to bigger combines, they've bought a bigger grain cart, they've done a whole bunch of things, and then you go into their yard and they got a old tractor on the auger. Some guys I've seen even put ladders up against the side of the tractor so that they can get in and out of the tractor easier.
Yeah.
And I've also seen or talked to a lot of customers who put electric tarps on every Super Bee, electric openers on every Super Bee, and their guys are still running around and climbing in and out of the cab and stuff. So I looked at it a different way, that we need to keep the guys where they're working, right? Instead of having them running around, especially with the age of most of the guys that you get to help run trucks, especially on the smaller operations, they're usually older. And you can shave at least 3 to 5 minutes a load because the guy isn't moving around so much. Those efficiencies just start to add up over the day. And another thing we've done is like a cool down timer, because some guys will sit there. I don't know how. I honestly don't know how, but some guys will sit there for 2 minutes and let the tractor cool down before they leave. There's absolutely no way I would have that patience to do that. So then guys leave them. So the other thing is guys say, oh, I leave it running. There's always trucks there. And I'm like, is there? Because you think there is, because you're the one driving the truck. But there is a lot of hours during the day where there's no truck at the auger. Especially one customer told me about his grain cart, or grain bagger and the grain cart. And he saved 150 hours on his grain bagger tractor because he was using my system on there. I didn't even
Well, some
think.
folks that got really big tractors on the augers and stuff too, hey?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so
That's
we
big
got
bucks these days.
big bucks, big bucks.
$600,000 tractor. You had done some math on the idling on them in a year. It used to be a lease payment on a John Deere sprayer.
Yeah, I had one customer, which I sold him 2 units. He calculated what he thought was for hours of idling, because he had the button on the back of the tractor. So he said, we're just going to leave him idle and we'll press the button. So I did the numbers, he did the numbers. I made this spreadsheet with like average yield, days combining, to try and get that tons off the field calculation for the customer. And yeah, the PTO hours on his farm would have cost him $17,000 a year.
Could have bought 3 of your systems.
Yeah.
But tell everybody, like tell me, like I'm a 5-year-old here, what it is that you actually make here, because I'm not sure it's clear to everybody. What are we talking about?
So I make a custom apparatus that fits in your tractor, and it fits on the controls of your tractor like an iPhone case would fit on your iPhone. Like, it's made exactly for your tractor. And then we move those switches and knobs remotely. So it's it can be used on any age of tractor and any color. And you don't have to worry about any warranty implications. There's no wiring, there's no opening anything up of the tractor. It's just an on and off type product.
Nice. Because you can adapt a lot of what you built to almost anything, hey? Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. We one harvest, we decided that we were going to drive a tractor. That was on Sunday. So we ordered a bunch of stuff, and by the next Sunday, we were driving it away from my house. Because that's where the office shack is. It's right by the house. And we got 6 or 7 units out in the world that are driving remotely.
That's crazy.
One in Ukraine, which I'm not 100% sure if it's back up and running after its mine that it hit. But all my stuff survived.
Yeah, you have some very interesting stories about that. I don't know if you can get into that, given your security clearance internationally, like at the level of defense that we're talking about here on the internet live today on Growing the Future.
Well, I'm involved with some DoD stuff, and I can say that it's for construction equipment, like yellow iron. And you got to look at like we think we have a lot of money invested in iron, right? Then you start thinking of the DoD and all the iron they have from forklifts to loaders to like all those things. And everybody wants to automate everything right now. And they can't flip their fleet like that. And a lot of these pieces of machinery are maybe going to be sacrificial. So they really don't want to spend a ton of money. So it was interesting to be able to supply a product for them to play around with. And it was successful. So we'll see where that goes.
What are you really doing at the consulate, Vince? Come clean with us today.
What am I really doing here?
Yeah, some top secret stuff.
Top secret.
Yeah, get a little. Trevor, you heard about his product. I thought you saw it on the internet or something. Vince was telling me, and you reached out because you get really excited about this kind of stuff. Like you see the potential. And describe for us what the potential you saw and what Vince is doing here.
Yeah, so I think it was Twitter, Vince, right? Is that correct? You put a little video out, and I was like instant messaging him right away, and I wanted to get a hold of one. I just see it as a device like you're running a 4-wheel drive tractor on a grain auger, and as you mentioned, the age of people, you're up and down and around, and you know how it is on the farm. Some people are stepping over things they shouldn't be and climbing up things, not using the bottom step. And on our farm, it's a bit of a, honestly, comfort knowing the safety level it brings to the guys in the yard. We got a couple systems of Vince's. One's on a 9230, runs a 16-inch grain auger. And again, efficiency, electric tarps, electric chutes, remote control tractor starting, PTO engagement, hydraulics, and I can rev up the engine and down, all from standing right beside the truck, never moving. So I'm not touching the app like at Brennan's place, but it's pretty close when you just got 2 remotes in your hands and you can run everything, the efficiency and the safety there. And then on the grain bagging side, rather than having a 16-year-old kid or an 80-year-old guy sitting in a tractor all day, turning it off and on, the guy in the grain cart can turn the tractor on from his tractor. He can actually rev the engine up, engage a PTO, and he can actually steer that tractor as well. So we have that set up in our bagging system. So
yeah, because if they can steer it easily, they will. You just got to press a button. But if they got to get out and touch the steering wheel, they're like, next load, and then it starts to curve.
you got a banana.
Yeah.
Well,
Nobody likes
Sherman
that.
keeps bringing up grain bagging here, so I'm going to ask the audience, where are you guys at on grain bagging? Are you doing it every year? Have you tried it? Didn't like it? You thought about it, never pulled the trigger, or that is not for your operation? But Brennan, when you hear what Vince is talking about, the future's got to be automated, and you've already incorporated a lot. Like what's running by itself, or that works now, but also things that you'd like to implement further.
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of grain bagging as well. Obviously, our farm's spread out enough that not everything comes back to the vineyard, but so we're probably going to lay 40 bags this year, unfortunately, but it's a good and bad problem when you got a decent crop, right? So I actually looked at Vince's system last year, I think. I didn't know you could steer it because we're a little OCD around here, or as Trevor would say, ADHD kicks in, and we like to have our bags straight. And So we've always been paying somebody to sit in the tractor while we're bagging. But if I can steer that baby, we even tried to hack the John Deere auto steer on our bagger last year and see if we could tweak the minimum speed to engage auto steer, but can't do her. But yeah, for me, we've got phase 1 in our systems complete now. It's actually probably about phase 4. We call it phase 1, but phase 1 was a long time ago. But now as we grow, we can add bins to the system and they just tie right in. And it's as simple as putting the bins up and tying them into the system. And we don't need a whole bunch more infrastructure to go with it. And we can expand our storage and our flexibility and our blending capabilities and stuff like that. So, I mean, the automation it's the way she's going. I've sat in on a couple John Deere focus groups down at the factory, and automation's coming. It's not that far away in certain things to have no operators in certain pieces. And I mean, technology is our best friend at times. And obviously, this morning I woke up to a bit of a barley spill down at the vineyard because I've been letting the dryer go. It hasn't shut off since Monday, but that's just the way it goes. You have to trust technology and a lot of this stuff. I know when we put the system in last year, some of the guys, our truck drivers, were just like totally overwhelmed with, oh, am I clicking the right button? Can I, I don't want to do the wrong thing, but they've got it down to a dummy level where as long as you tell it what crop you got on, it almost prompts you to put it in the right bin. So there should be minimal mix-ups, but the whole time, anytime there's automation, we spent a lot of time last year on the phone with LV Control remotely logging in to set up, calibrations and timings and stuff like that. But Vince's system too. I mean, anytime you can make your harvest process more streamlined, whether it's automated bagger tractor or like Trevor said, we're guilty in the past, and we still have a 16-inch auger we use at a couple vineyards. We just let the 4-wheel drive run all day because we don't want to start and stop it all day long. But you're still up and down that ladder, right? And if I got my step counter on when I'm trucking, you're making the miles, but it's not as efficient as wheeling in with one of those and speeding the process up. So,
and I think the safety side of it, Brennan, that's it. I just fear someone's going to fall off a step and the next truck's not going to be there for 30 minutes or 15 minutes. And, and I think even the auger wear and tear, because you're probably switching the trailers and you're not idling the tractor down because you got to run over there. This one, you just hit the button, it idles down, shuts PTO off, you move the truck, turn the PTO on back, idle it up. The wear and tear on the auger alone, I think is key. And, we were talking about what efficiencies are, and literally a shear pin on a grain auger is going to stop the process. All of a sudden there's 5 combines sitting, carts are full, semis are full, and once you're behind, that once you're behind all day. You're basically waiting for the reset in the morning. So I think, shear pins, we were just going through this yesterday on the farm. Do we have shear pins in the tractors? Do we have all the wrenches? And not even wrenches, like, do you have an impact to put that in? We want to do that stuff fast. And I think it was one of the questions Dan had said, like, we have an extra grain auger just sitting in the yard with a tractor on it. It's not a brand new grain auger by any means, but it's sitting there. And we will put it into bins. And if we need that bin, that's what it is. And we, on our yard, will run like a wet bin. We try to start combining pretty early, 9:30, lots of days. And those first few loads, they just go into the hopper bins. And then once we get a test, we're drier, then we're going to switch it into the big bins. You're not moving augers; they're just set up and ready to go. And lots of guys too, same. We have a yard truck, just got diesel and gas in it. It's got 2 slip tanks in it. That truck never leaves the yard. You're not looking for diesel. You're not carrying jerry cans. Again, time and efficiency in the yard is pretty huge.
That's another thing that some, like what you mentioned, Trevor. Now you got 2 tractors, and if the tractors are different colors or different vintages, you get your truck driver now has to go to a different tractor, and he doesn't know how that one works. That's a very common thing that happens. Is like, well, I don't know how to do this or how much to rev this one up because it's a different size of auger on the tractor. So with like a system like mine, it's the same remote. It doesn't matter. And the RPM is already set for them. It just unloads. Every truck unloads at that same RPM. just kind of makes it simpler for them.
Well, when it comes to having hired help too, I think you alluded to something too, Vince. It seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of extending the experienced operator's capabilities with running more than one unit, and you'd rather be having control over things like the grain cart with auto dump itself as well. Like, explain to me how that works. Are you're able to run more than one thing?
Yeah, I have. I've done it myself, and I have a customer in Indiana who he's going to run the combine and he's going to run the cart because they run one combine. And he says he's pretty particular about where the cart is, and he's just tired of telling the cart where to be. So he's going to just control it himself. And so when I was down there, he was telling me he wanted to do auto dump, or he wanted to dump the grain cart in the truck. So then we were talking about how we're going to come and do this. So I come up with an auto dump. So I'm hacking into the Libra scale. Well, actually, I'm tying into it, and we're going to have that live on the screen in the tractor all the time, what his weight is. And on a stream deck, he's going to punch in the weight that he wants to dump. And then he's going to hit OK. He's got the PTO running. And I'm going to control the clutch of his drag on a Balzer cart. So then he doesn't have to pay 100% attention, because, you know, when things are going to go wrong, it's going to be when you should be looking here is when it's going to be a problem over here. So if he knows that that particular truck, he can dump 6,000 pounds in that hopper without spilling, he'll type in 6,000, hit dump. When it's done dumping, then it's just running empty. He'll move it to the next hopper, do the same thing again.
I'm wondering who's got tighter security, John Deere Focus Group or the DOD? Because in the big picture here, gentlemen, don't we want to keep selling big iron? Like, isn't this swarm technology going to let us go smaller and cheaper and older? And Brennan, if you could operate 3 things at one time, wouldn't you want to?
100%. Yeah, there's a number of operations on the farm that if I could automate them tomorrow, I would absolutely go for it. But there's certain things like I think one of the last things you'll see automated without an operator will be a combine. There's so much going on. You know, we don't farm tabletop Regina Plains flat land around here either. So the crop's up, it's down, it's ripe, it's green. So there's certain things that I think will be really easy to integrate with automation. You know, land rolling, pro tilling, even fertilizer floating. Some of these ones where it's literally you're just sitting in there going back and forth, and you almost can't screw it up. You know, even automated planting's coming, but I don't know, Trevor, would you be willing to let your tractor go and plant your crop without being able to watch what's going on? I mean, you can remotely watch, but it's still not the same as being in the seat. So maybe that's the farmer in me that just doesn't want to let go and the old, if you want it done right, do it yourself mentality. But you have to let technology play its course. I mean, we wouldn't be where we're at in ag if we didn't trust technology to get us where we are, you know?
And I think to tie into that, Brennan, like the combines have so much technology in them. It's not like 15 years ago you put a guy in a 9600 and said drive 3 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Now there's so much going on, and you know the automation, you got to watch it. Just if you don't have the right data in there, you still got to watch that automation, because all of a sudden it's going to see something that maybe it doesn't actually recognize, and it's going to change the settings. And you got to have a educated operator in there. And on our farm, we try to put the best guys in the combines, because that's where the profit is. You know, if that combine runs all day and it's a bushel or 2 out because automation thought something was different and your operator doesn't catch it, that's thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars.
But there's nothing automating the table.
No.
No, not yet.
That's
No.
not yet, but that's the hardest thing that's going to be to do, because the consistency of how crop flows in has nothing to do with visually what you see. It can be the temperature, it can be weeds in it, and I think there's a long way to go before the combine's driving on its own.
And
In
seeding's
corn, Maybe.
Seeding's the same. Like I get stuck every year. Doesn't matter if it's a wet year or a dry year. I'm trying to seed stuff I shouldn't be seeding. Uh, but I usually know when to quit too. And that's the other thing. Is the automation just going to sit there and spin? Or, maybe you can get away with 40% tractor slip, and the automation might just be 40%. It just presses the clutch in. You know what I mean? I think as humans, we're designed to drive stuff, I think. And it's the reaction time or the common sense or sometimes the lack thereof that puts you in that slough. But it might take common sense to get you back out.
Is that why the dot went the way of the dodo bird? Because we want to drive things?
I think they were using, in my opinion, I think they were using the dot for some of the wrong things in some of the wrong places. I've been down into some 40-acre flooded paddocks, down in like Arkansas and stuff. Man, I just see that. I see drones on 40-acre plots. I see the dot on 40-acre plots. It's flood irrigation. They got berms. They can't go away. You know what I mean? I think that's where that technology should be tested and used. Like Brennan, I'm sure you have some 5, 6, 800,000 acre fields, right? Big iron still Saskatchewan. Big iron is still needed in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
How do you know what to
hour.
automate first, Vince? Like when you're looking at the whole pantheon of things you could work on and what might work and what might pay for you and the client, how do you decide what's automatable? Because Trevor just told us that's the thing that the dot got wrong.
Well, I think what the dot got wrong is it was replacing what you already owned. So not
Right.
only were you
Yeah.
asking the guy to do something new in his practices, but you are asking him to leverage himself on buying all these different pieces. What? And that's not going to work. It's a lot easier to even sit in the seat and test the automation and watch it go turn and go around and then get comfortable with it and then get out of the seat. So
So your solution's kind of bridging between that. Because I remember too, folks that were challenged with the opportunity, right? Should I take the dot on? Well, what do you do with your old stuff? And then if you burn the ships behind you, all of a sudden you're in dot country, and it was a great product, help with innovation. Good on Norman Bourgeot for inventing it. I personally wondered why it wasn't more popular, but it was early too. Sometimes it's just the timing, But that's right. Like Brennan, when are you gonna like these focus groups? Tell us the most secret thing that John Deere's told you. Tell us it all. Tell us it all right now. What's the most secret thing they said?
Oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to tell you some of that stuff, actually.
Well, I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't get worried about that part.
I would just say thinking big picture, bit of a John Deere plug, I guess. I'm a John Deere guy, but some of the tech John Deere's got, I do think is leaps and bounds ahead of the industry in terms of what they're doing with data and the tech stack they've got in terms of the behind the scene data. Not like their machine automation, not all, everybody's got that. I get that. But like JD Ops, some of the things that are going to be coming in that, like predictive logistics, is something that and grain cart load sharing, weight sharing across combines. So we're trying some of that out this year with our Agrimatics, where we can load share so we can see what the other loads are at in the combines and the carts. So it helps you to time your loads. So you can look on Ops right now. You can see a truck's 3 miles away, but it doesn't tell you how many minutes away, right? So I think the next step in automation, not just John Deere, I think with everybody, is for the logistics side, is to have a better handle on what path you pick up carts on, what percentage you unload them on to get your load, because you know that the B train that's there has already got 20 ton. You only need 22 ton to top them off. All this comes remotely, and there's the next truck's coming in 12 minutes. If you can integrate all that stuff, so the grain cart guys aren't on the radio every 30 seconds talking to the combine guys about, I'll get you on the next pass, I need this much, and you can all integrate it all on your monitors, right? So, that's looking further down the road, but some of that's going to come. It's simple. I'm not a tech guy, but I assume with how fast things are progressing in the JD Ops and tech side of the world, some of that will come shortly. And, even for me, my big dream would be to to tie some of my stuff into JD Ops or some of my other third-party apps, right? We're all guilty of I got a new phone this spring, and I had to create a new Apple ID. I had 222 apps on my phone.
Yeah.
It's incredible how many apps we have to run redundant things, right? And if I look on the farm, we can minimize how many apps we're looking at and how many things we're checking in a day and streamline it into one. That would be, I'm sure Trevor can allude to that.
Yeah.
That's going away. Joe Larry, talk to him. He just got JD Ops into Cloud Code. Go ahead, Trevor.
Yeah, and I was going to say that, like, Farmer's Edge 15 years ago, we were trying all this stuff, and, you know,
Right.
whatever happened with Farmer's Edge, we won't get into that. That's
You're not going to talk about that? You're not going to go into that today, Trevor?
That's 9 podcasts. So, but like, I remember we were trying to do a lot of that stuff 15 years ago, and JD's finally doing it. Like, I think my newest piece of John Deere equipment on the farm is like 15 years old, but I got JD Ops and everything because I think it's the system. Like, it's in my semis, it's in my combines, it's in my red sprayer, lime green combines. Like, it don't matter to me. Red tractors, Burgo equipment, Kenworth, Peterbilt, it's in all that stuff. You know, and everyone's been trying to do it, and JD's just kind of doing it right now.
Yeah.
And I think a little bit different, Brennan, in Canada and US, and Vince, you can allude to this too. Like, I know, Brennan, you're basically a green farm now, but I think technology is driving that. Like, if you go to the States, it always was you're green or you're red. There was no halfway. In Canada, it was always like, oh, we got Burgo drills and maybe a case sprayer and things were mixed up. But technology is, and John Deere's recognized that, technology and hired men and all that stuff, if you can streamline all that, right? You don't have to explain 4 GPSs. Like, remember the old Outback days? You'd have different Outback stuff, and then Case has auto steer, so we don't need the Outback. And just trying to remember all of that stuff. Just get in the John Deere, and I can watch you on my computer screen.
Yeah.
How to sell John Deere GPS. Just go buy an Outback and then get back to me.
Yeah.
Vince,
even
how
we
are
were
you
talking about
looking at this?
we were talking about Agrimatics. I want to bring that up. Like, how about that for Saskatchewan technology? A couple guys got that rolling. You know what I mean? Amazing.
Sure.
Same thing. I saw that at a trade show, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. And there's so much stuff that's come out of Saskatchewan.
Absolutely.
For this technology.
We even we just upgraded to Agrimatics Pro, so now it syncs into our JD Ops. I got a Starlink on my truck, so every night when we shut down, the grain cart guys just sync the iPads to the truck, and now the Agrimatics data will flow into Ops. So now we'll know if our combine yield monitors are accurate or not.
That's what I was going to ask you, Brandon, if you had the Starlinks on your X9s.
No, these X9s don't have the Starlinks. They're 1 year prior to that. So,
can't send them more then.
Yeah, that's just going to. I think that's just going to boost the experience in some of this equipment going forward, is the ability to have Starlink right in your iron, right? John Deere's X9's now got the forward-looking cameras. They can pull the NDVI maps and integrate it in the background on your Gen 5 screen for your biomass images. And we were talking about automating the cutter bar. It's that's never going to be an easy one to do, but camera and AI is what's going to get us there.
Oh yeah,
I think. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Where are you fitting your strategy in, Vince, compared to these big guys? Obviously, you're the underdog here, but are you watching what they're doing and thinking about where you can fit in? Because in Canada, it's a quilt of different equipment as opposed to the States. I agree.
Well, we control via Starlinks. So you have a Starlink on the tractor and a Starlink on the combine, and we're talking through that to control the tractor. And as far as AI, I think the guy I'm working with, I think we're leveraged better because we're building the whole system off of AI to start with, whereas some of the other stuff has been like we'll talk about Outrun. It was created off with no AI. Now that they went on sensors and LiDAR and stuff like that, and now they have to go backwards to then put AI in it.
Right.
So they're great referrals from them. Actually, most of my customers have tried the product and then decided to go with my system.
Yeah. I wanted to do around the horn here a bit, and we're getting down to the wire here. We could talk. I think we could talk a lot here. There's so many more topics in here, but 15 minutes left. I want to hear from everybody at the end a little bit about what they think is going to happen in the future. But like an economics hot round here, like Brennan, when you go to build what you're going to build, you probably got to talk to your banker. You got to talk to the wife. You got to consult the Oracle. You got to do a little prayer. Like, it's a big chunk. How do you justify this for the future?
Yeah, so the way we looked at that is, Trevor alluded to, the stage of capital at his farm, buying land and whatnot. And we were kind of in the same boat. We're always looking to grow and expand our land base. And we kind of just said, we need to, I farm with two brothers, right? So we got 3 families on the farm. So this isn't something that I'm building for me for the next 10, 15 years. This site was something that we decided, this is a generational facility, I guess you could call it, right? Where we were just looking into the future, and we had this, it kind of just, like I said earlier, it just happened through growth, where we continued to need growth in the drying side of things and the storage. And then this was always my goal, to integrate this all, because that's the way, when we put the first bin up in this system, it was laid out specifically with this in mind. And I had farmers and buddies stop by and say, why would you put your unloads on that side of the bin? And why do you have it up so high? And why, like, I had all these questions, and I just, for like a lot of years, I said, just because, just trust me. It's just what I have for a vision. And now that it's there, everybody's like, oh yeah, well, I get it now why you laid it out in that design. Right. So, it's, the ROI is a hard one. It's not cheap, like you said. Not something you're paying for in 1 year. This is something that, you look at an elevator, they're putting millions and millions and millions of bushels through in a year. Their turnover rate is so high. So this is something that we put up that I'm hoping that my great grandkids are using someday. When I'm 90, I'm coming out for a combine ride, and little Johnny, my great grandson's telling me how awesome it is that we built this back in 2025, because they might be to the point where they even outgrow this and they've got to add to it, or, maybe they'll be on phase 5 by then. Right. But it's a long-term picture, and it comes back to logistics and efficiencies, and things are we grow a lot of barley. So it's a little bit more delicate than a wheat and canola guy, right? Wheat and canola, you can pre-harvest when it's ready. For us with barley, we grow a ton of malt. We grow a lot of oats. Clearly can't pre-harvest either of those. So we're almost at the mercy of Mother Nature a lot of the time. So we let the dryer in the system take it out. But that makes sense.
You must be bullish on ag, Brennan.
I try to do my best.
For farming. You must want to.
Yeah.
And it was funny too, because as you're talking, I'm thinking, you had a lot of help from the Chinese, according to the coffee shop, right? Like you did get, there's all kinds of outside support that helped you do what you did. Thanks to the.
I will say though, for anybody who's listening, or anybody who's asking, where do you get started? I started out with just some chicken scratch, and then I consulted Flamin to give me a hand, because they came up with it, helped us with our dryer install. And I said, this is my vision. And I think the first time I gave it to them, they looked at me and said, we're not picking up what you're putting down here. I don't like, this is farmer math. And so, we went through a lot of revisions and versions of how to get it right, but definitely takes some planning, and you need a pretty good team to help build something like this, right? It was an 8-month project. So it started last March and it was completed in September 1st was the goal to have it up and going for. So it was a big haul.
Awesome. That's really inspiring to hear. I'm sure lots of farmers listening to this will, I think give them hope and get them excited about what's possible. But Vince, you're coming at it from a different angle. I see you like moving quick in a different area of economics. We got 10 minutes left here, and I do want to give Trevor a chance to talk about drop pans, which saved hundreds of thousands of dollars every year on the farm. But what are the economics from your vantage point, from what you're building?
Well, I think that farmers are sold by new iron to get a little bit better efficiency every year. And there's not a need to. We can upgrade the equipment that we have. We can use that to leverage higher returns with less labor, being more efficient with what we already have. And I think that like Brennan was saying, what his system, it's hard to quantify to a banker what that's gonna do to your farm, how much. And I think it's great, Brennan's system. And I know the blending is gonna make you money. But when you're trying to quantify that to a bank, you can't explain it to them. They don't understand. Well, what's those couple minutes gonna mean? What doesn't matter that you can blend this? So I think that it's a lot easier for guys to use something like I got to start helping their farm get a little more efficient. And labor shortage is real. We all know that. And the problem that farmers have is we need labor incrementally during the season.
Yeah.
So that's where my driving stuff comes into, because if we can automate that older tractor that a guy has sitting there, and it can land roll beside you as you're seeding, you've just, that's a win. You didn't have to try find someone to go do that. Yeah, the conditions were right, the day was right, the land roll, you were just doing it beside you. Same thing with the grain cart. I got a couple of customers that they have it in the tractor so they can drive it till somebody shows up. Because there's a lot of times you go out to the field and it's ready to go, but now you got to start phoning people and there's nobody to drive the grain cart, so then you really don't have any production. So I think we're also being told like the swarm technology is going to be like farming in the future. And I'm really dead against that, because it's every machine running is a possibility for failure and breakdown. So if you got 15 robots running out there at 20 feet wide, there's a good chance that one of them is going to have a problem. And then when you get that one problem fixed, then another one's going to have a problem. And you're just going to be babysitting these things. Whereas if you had your old tractor running an 80-foot drill beside you, and there's two of you seeding at the same time, you're only managing two things, and your production's way up. Plus, you're not buying anything new.
As you're talking, I'm thinking we got to get some of these folks in their mom's basement playing Farming Simulator out and running this stuff. Trevor, you never even talked about drop pans. I phoned you to do a show on drop pans. You said, get these guys on. Let's talk about harvest efficiency. But lordy, you got to save a lot of money with dropping a pan now and then, hey?
Yeah, it's, again, automation, it's data too, right? So we did work with one of the major manufacturers on their automation system. And if you don't have good numbers going into that automation, you don't get good numbers coming out. So, it's changed again. We started dropping drop pans behind 9870s and 9860s, 9600s. And we hear it lots now, oh, I don't need a drop pan. It's got automation. Pretty cool, but the automation is set at the parking lot in Illinois. You got to put numbers in to make it better. Brennan, I know you're running X9s, and you got to still drop the pan to calibrate stuff to make sure it's right. And it doesn't matter. Not the inside of the combine hasn't changed a whole bunch in 30 years, and they're still maybe not best designed for corn or for canola, barley, lentils, oats. They're really good in corn and beans. We just have to fine tune them and weather conditions and humidity and all that stuff. So it's good data in, better data out, and yeah, you got to drop a pan to check it. Basically, that's the only pitch I got on SureGain. It was more about harvest efficiencies, and again, if you're not checking, if you're not saving the dollars here, you're doesn't make sense.
Though, like
pretty soft sell.
Talking about harvest efficiencies, you can push the throughput on these new machines as hard as you want, but if you're not checking your losses out the back with a drop pan, are you really further ahead? I mean, I've heard stories of guys getting their new combines and doing 5.5, 6 mile an hour. And, my dealer was out the other day and said last year he threw a pan behind a guy and he was 12 bushels coming out the back of his combine. I mean,
just drive around in the spring. That's what we do. We drive around in the spring and take pictures.
Yeah,
but it's too late. That money's lost, right? And And again, it's anything with efficiency. If you know the numbers, so Brennan, if you know at 3.5 mile an hour and 110 bushel barley, you're losing 3/4 of a bushel. There's a rain cloud coming and you're combining malt. You're like,
Yeah.
boys, let's step up. We're going to lose 2 bushel, but we're going to retain malt on an extra 200 acres. Now you can just
Yeah.
quantify the numbers, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Dan will tell you, yeah, I can build that and tell you exactly how fast to go. But again, you got to have those numbers. You got to have that data before any of the AI will work. And it goes back to just a simple magnetic pan that falls off a combine is your data collection device, right? We think it's one of the best ROIs you'll ever have on your farm at SureGain. So there's your hard pitch, Dan.
Definitely.
All right. That was a little bit more aggressive. I like that. You know,
Yeah.
I'm a sales guy. Folks, we're going to wrap it up, but I'm going to go around the horn after Harry Seaman's question and just one word or one sentence, period, no explanation, to Harry Seaman's question, which I'm going to read right now. What's your big, crazy prediction or next big thing, or just no explanation, just what's the biggest, craziest thing coming next? Because Harry Seaman's, or that you'd most want, or that you're thinking of, or it's going to blow people's minds. So Harry Seaman's is saying, coming from a 1,200 acre grain and seed farm back in 1960, my dad was so keen, on clean up, getting ready way ahead of the time, working hard, and yes, even at 10 or 12 years old, driving the combine so he could check whether seed is going over the back. That was a smart farmer back there. Now I'm listening to you people and wondering where it's going. And of course, we're taught at 10 years old that combine isn't moving. That's a unforgivable sin. Hey, one word, one line for the future. What's your big, hairy, audacious goal, or what do you think's coming down the pipe, or what are you thinking about most? That's like the moonshot. Vince.
Do it in one word, but driving down the road AI with the tractor.
Oh, transportation.
Travel. Yeah.
AI transportation. Love it. Trevor?
I'll tee it to agriculture, and it is still labor and aging population.
Okay, it sounds like another show. Brennan, last word. What's your big thingamajigger?
I got lots. I don't know if we got time for all of them, but I'll tee it up back to harvest and efficiencies and logistics, because that's the topic. Is the tech is coming at us so fast. From RC farms to machinery tech to, I honestly think that each farm should just pick one major thing that they can improve on. And just each harvest, pick one thing to integrate and just build on it. So drop pans, that's Sherman, that's so 10 years ago, right? If everybody's not doing a drop pan by now, they should be. We're past that. But you got to keep up and keep integrating everything, and it can be overwhelming. But the tech that's coming or is already here for me is I think what we think we've seen a lot of tech so far, but I think there's way more to come. I really do.
Trevor, how many it may be old news you've been talking about for 10 years, but how many farms are doing a hell of a job on drop pans right now in Western Canada?
In Western Canada, canola is higher. The canola farmers are higher. Man, every year we think, are we really going to sell that many again? And we always do. And you only need one per farm. And like the math is, most people should have them by now. It's actually crazy, but it's one of those things that we get a lot of calls in the spring, which would make you laugh. And I'm sure the old guy gets on the harrow and phones the kid and goes, dude, like this is bad. We sell lots in the spring and we take lots of calls in the spring. And I would say 10 years ago, we didn't get that. But you didn't have to be as good. That sounds terrible. You didn't have to be as good 15 years ago. Now the margins are so tight. Like if we can knock 200 hours off a tractor by using Vince's stuff, if we can knock hours off semis by using a great big bin system, we can blend. It's all those little 5% that are going to keep the people on the top. The cream goes to the top and it's 5%, right?
That's literally the show next week with Travis Gerard and Dean Klippenstein, and they've seen the numbers. They know who's making the most profits in what area and compared to the RM. And that's exactly what Trevor said they're seeing. It's no one big home run.
No.
It is Moneyball. It is the 5% rule. Hebert, he was the original prophet on all that, and it makes a lot of sense. So it's doing a bunch of little things together better, and that's what this show was about. And we gave you the promise of talking about some drop pan efficiencies. We talked a little bit about bagging. We got in some really interesting rabbit holes there with technology. Gets me so excited for future shows and talking to you guys more. Gave away a lot of secrets from John Deere focus groups and the Department of Defense. Things we're doing worldwide to protect, keep good people safe, and it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to think about, because just like spraying, we could do a show on spraying. A lot of it's logistic, not just size of your boom, which everybody fixates on. So awesome show. It was a great idea. Thank you, Trevor.
You bet.
We could. I was happy just to do drop pans, but this was really exciting. Thanks, Vince, for coming on. I think we got to do like a podcast and hear more about your story and get more in depth into your technology on the show and the platform. It's going to be exciting. Congratulations on becoming a U.S. permanent resident or citizen, or
No, it just allows me to live and work there for 5 years.
well, that's what
But
I'm
I
going to do
can
too.
another year there, and then I can pursue other steps.
I'm going to come have a zero beer with you in Arizona when we're both certified. I'll be down there on the 31st, meeting your partner, hopefully. And Brennan, it's been amazing meeting you. And I knew we've talked a little bit before on various things, but you've accomplished something that's really extraordinary for generations. And it's just great to meet young guys that are so bullish on ag. They're willing to go all in and burn the ships behind them.
All in.
You can't really give them your 2 weeks notice now, put it that way. Anyways, you're kind of dedicated now.
Kind of locked in, I think. Yeah.
Good for you all. Proud of you. And that's very exciting, guys. Thanks for sharing everything. Next week, we've got M&P, Know Your Numbers, Part 2, see where you stack up, the benchmarking conversation. Very interesting stuff. I'm telling you, my Travis Gerard was out at my brother's field day. Really crazy numbers they've got. Can really help you with your farm. It's probably like drop pans for accountants if you want. And then Thursday, we're talking about the new Convergence Conference 2027. I hope to see you all there. It's going to be exciting. So the combine was never the bottleneck. We can always get a little bit more new shiny paint, but we talked about some solutions beyond that. And I really appreciate everybody on this call. So, and good luck and stay safe. I was thinking so many times about Stars Ambulance and those bloody PTOs. And I wonder how many stories they have in the vicinity of what we're talking about here. Harvest time, the pressure, people are tired, making mistakes, and the terrible things that can happen that will change a person's life forever. So
Stars is doing a fundraiser. They're dropping people in the middle of the field.
Nice.
And they got to get money to get out. As farmers, we need to support that. It's coming
Rescue
up
on the Prairies.
That one. Yep.
Yeah, I'm going to be me and Hamner playing on in that one in September. A little Born to Be Wild or something. I'm not sure yet.
Good cause.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good cause. Encourage everybody to support Stars because you might need it one day. Less and less, hopefully, with all the solutions we're talking about here. I know farms are getting a lot safer. So stay safe out there. Stay efficient. Appreciate you all. Thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.